Assalamu alaikum everyone. I welcome you today to the new session for the course of highway engineering, and we will start with chapter 1, which deals with the profession of transportation engineering. So first of all, we will be discussing about transportation as a whole system, and then we will move on to the topic of highways in further details. So I will start with the explanation of why transportation systems are important for us. So looking at it from the economic point of view, if you have a good transportation system, then you can have specialization, different specializations in your uh, industry and in the other economic sectors. Okay, so for example, if you want to specialize in vehicle manufacturing, then there are so many things which you need for a vehicle manufacturing industry. So you cannot establish this specialization if you don't have the access to all the resources. So a good transportation system provides you the access to all the necessary resources to establish a particular stabilization in your industry or any other economic sector. It reduces the cost of materials and manufactured goods. It's very understandable if you have good transportation system. So good transportation system means what? That you can transfer people and material at a low cost, okay, or with less time. Okay, so if you are saving time, again you are saving cost. Okay, so a good transportation system that can save you time and the cost of transportation can eventually reduce your overall cost of the product. Okay, so imagine if you are buying something from Europe. So Europe is very far from here, so the things which are coming from Europe are costlier as compared to something which is coming from, let's say, Saudi Arabia to Bahrain. It increases the competition between regions, okay, because now you have access to the same thing which is coming from different regions. So the people who are sending you things, they have to be mindful of the fact that you may get the same product from somewhere else as well at a cheaper rate. So for example, something is coming from Saudi Arabia and the same thing is also coming from Dubai. Okay, so if it was only coming from only one source, so that particular source can charge you anything. Okay, so eventually they will charge you higher because they have the monopoly in that market. Okay, so increasing the competition is good to keep the prices at a reasonable level. Okay, and obviously there's the aspect of quality as well. If you are getting very high quality product from one source, and let's say mobile phones, so you are getting a very high quality mobile phones from one country, and then you are getting some garbage from some other country for as in the name of cell phones, obviously you will not go for that. Okay, so uh, increased competition keeps the prices and the quality at a reasonable level. And how can you have this competition if you have access to different sources for the same product? uh, then as a result of having the access to different sources, you have more choices as well. As a consumer, you have more choices. Okay, you can buy an iPhone, you can buy Samsung, you can buy Huawei. Okay, and I will not go into other companies. Okay, because you most of you may not be knowing the names, but the case is that you have now greater choices. Okay, you can play with what you want. uh, Similarly, if you have a good transportation system, then it increases the use of your natural resources and increases the productivity of the people as well. Okay, imagine now Bahrain is a smaller country, so let me give you an example from Pakistan. So in Pakistan, we have some quarries where we get the aggregates. Now imagine from those quarries, if you don't have any highway network, so you have the quarries from there, and you can buy aggregates, but there is no way in which you can get the aggregates on your project site. So those natural resources will be wasted. Okay, so in order to maximize the use of your resources, you need a transportation system. And how does it increase the productivity of the people? If you are going to your office and you are if you are stuck in traffic for half an hour, you can imagine what will be your mental condition and your physical condition when you eventually get to the office. Okay, and same thing happens with students as well while they are coming to their classes. So if they have to get up at 6 a.m. in the morning so they can be on the road for 1 hour before they get to the class, then obviously you will be half asleep in the class. Okay, and you are half asleep anyways in the morning classes. So imagine if you have to spend 1 hour in the traffic, you will be fully asleep. Okay, so that's an example of how the productivity is decreased if you are spending too much time and too much resources and during your way to your classes or way to your work. Then transportation system is also important for delivering the government services. We call them utilities as well, like getting your mails. Okay, and mails are, nowadays we have these courier services as well, which are private. Okay, defense services, patrolling the borders of the country, and other services like police service and so on. They all need transportation services. Okay, assisting different territories. There are areas which are far from the cities and people are still living there, they are working there, so you have to get the services to them as well. So you need a good transportation system, a well established transportation system to do all these things. In terms of the employment, transportation sector uh, you know uh, employs like 10% or maybe more than that of your workforce. All the people who are employed in a country, at least 10% are employed by the transportation sector, including the people working in the ministry and traffic departments and drivers and bus companies and so on. Okay, and in terms of the expense, it amounts for 13% of your total household expenditure. So the total amount which you spend, around 13%, and this is an average value. For some cases it can be more. Okay, for like people who are in the lower class, lower income group, this can go up to 20-30%. Okay, so which is a lot. Okay, so this highlights the importance of transportation sector for everybody. Looking at the historical point of view, it has been seen that in the history, the most developed nations throughout the history, not only in the history, throughout the history till present, the most developed nations have good transportation systems. And you can see some examples here like the Roman Empire and present day modern countries like USA, Japan, Singapore, China. All of them have high quality transportation systems. Okay, and most developed and industrialized nations or societies need high quality transportation systems, because I already explained to you in the last slide. Okay, to get the natural resources, to increase the productivity and so on. So the industry cannot grow without good transportation systems. Another aspect is, which has been seen in the history, is the role of maritime system, the ships, ports and ships, which have enabled nations to rule the whole world. Okay, like Britain in 1900s was a major force in the entire globe. Why? Because they had a good maritime system. Okay, similarly, before them it was the French rule, and there was a Portuguese rule as well. So all these countries, nations, ruled the entire world by good maritime transportation systems. Okay, so ships are also again part of transportation systems. So realizing the importance of transportation systems, United Nations made sustainable transport as part of the sustainable development goals uh, for this decade. They have sustainable development goals which are established for the whole decade. So sustainable transportation is one of the main goal in that. Okay, and this is because they feel having sustainable transportation system will affect so many people at so many levels. Okay, now let us look at the costs and benefits of the transportation sector, starting with the cost. So cost is anything which the transportation sector is consuming, taking away from you. Okay, so it takes energy, land, and material. Okay, when you are building the transportation mode, any transportation system, highways, airports, it takes away these things. You need material, you need land, you need energy. In terms of land, it transportation systems can cover as much as half of your available land area. Okay, and these include highways, bus stations, bus stops, and sidewalks and medians, and so many things, bridges, tunnels. So include, or if you include all of them, it may be half of your total land area. So imagine half of the Bahrain is covered by transportation system, half of the land of Bahrain, and we don't have much land. That's why we are taking away from the sea. Okay, so this is at the construction stage. While you construct, or after you construct the highway network or any transportation system, then you have the cost of accidents. Cost in terms of human life or property damage and so on. You have the cost due to noise pollution. You may spoil the natural beauty of an area. Any type of an area, desert, uh, a forest. Okay, any hill, valley, uh, in our case even the beach side. Okay, so you have the natural environment, and then you do something with the natural environment to accommodate the transportation system. Okay, and a very obvious example can be of the ports, shipping ports. So you have a natural beach and you do something with the beach that may spoil the natural beauty of that beach. Okay, you change the environment. Okay, so the environment includes the water, air, and the people who are living in that area, the species, other species, birds, and these things. So you change it, completely change it by building your transportation system. You have water pollution, air pollution. Water pollution is more common with ships, and air pollution is common with every type of transportation network. And you consume energy resources while you are managing and operating the system. I'm talking about fuel. Okay, fuel for the vehicles, or the energy you need for lighting up the street poles and so on. Then what are the benefits you get from that? You have the economic benefits to traders and employers. Okay, you provide the utilities I mentioned in the previous case, the previous slide, the utilities which can be defense and hospitals, and you have posts, delivery services. Okay, and then you allow for socializing within the communities. So you have different communities which are living in different cities or different areas. They can socialize because they can go from one area to the other area. Okay, this would not be possible if you don't have good transportation system. If I have to go even visit my own brother after 4 hours of drive, I will not go there so regularly. Okay, but if I have to spend only 15 minutes to go there, I may visit him more frequently. This is what we mean by socializing. Okay, as a transportation engineer or as a transportation system student, you may be interested in how many fields we have available to us in which we can specialize within the transportation sector. So we have different fields, okay, which belong to different disciplines of engineering, and even management as well. So for example, the first one you see here is logistics and supply chain management. Okay, they belong to people who do specializing in business management. Okay, so what is logistics or supply chain? It is basically getting the resources to your industry, and then getting the finished product to the customer. So this whole process is known as supply chain, and the things you need to do or to complete this whole process are known as logistics. Okay, so it involves how you are going to get the raw material from the fields, from different maybe sites, how you are going to get it in the factory, and how you will process it, and then how will you will distribute the product to stores, and how, from the stores how will it go to the client or the customer. Okay, so this is dealing with business management. Then we have the vehicle design and transportation services. It includes the design of the vehicles, any type of vehicle, okay, ships, airplanes, cars, trucks, buses, okay. Uh, it is mainly dealt by mechanical engineers, okay, and now we have within mechanical engineering different specializations according to different types of vehicles. For example, for cars we have if you are dealing with the specialization of vehicles running on the roads, then we have a different specialization, a different field, okay, which they call as automotive engineering. For ships they have marine engineering. For airplanes they have aerospace engineering and so on. Okay, but again these are different disciplines within mechanical engineering. Then we have transportation infrastructure services. This is the field which is dealt by civil engineers. So it includes uh, building the roads, building the highways, building the constructing anything, and then operating and managing it, operating the traffic and so on. Okay, so this is the part of the infrastructure. Providing the infrastructure is something which is done by civil engineers. Okay, so infrastructure can be roads, highways, railways, airports, pipelines, anything. Now, within the infrastructure services, a civil engineer may opt for different disciplines within the highway infrastructure or transportation infrastructure, which you can see here. It includes or it starts with the planning. So you planning involves getting the data, analyzing the data, forecasting something for the future, and then evaluating your options. Which option will be better for future? Then there are different types of designs. You have geometric design of highways, okay, which we will discuss in this course. You have pavement design, for which you have another course. We have drainage design, which is considered part of the pavement, and we have a structural design, which deals with the design of the bridges and buildings and these things. Okay, so in transportation systems you have all these things, all these different types of design. Then you come to the construction stage, which includes preparation of the surface on which you are going to build your structure. Then you grade the surface according to the slope you want. So preparation is basically cleaning the surface from any unwanted objects. Then you smooth it out, do the grading. Then you lay out the pavement on the surface. So pavement can be made up of asphalt, concrete, okay, and then the construction of the bridges which over the pavement. Then you have the operations and management discipline. So you in this you deal with the traffic, how the traffic should be operated, maintenance of the roads, putting intelligent technologies on the road. For example, intelligent signal systems, cameras, you know, surveillance, and incident detection systems, variable message signs, and these things. Then you have surveillance systems. Okay, surveillance can be done through cameras, can be done through people, sensors. These are surveillance systems. Then you have the control systems, which are used for controlling the whole system. So every different type of transportation system may have its own controls. For example, in airports you will see a control tower. On ports you will see these watchtowers and lighthouses. On highways you have the control system with the traffic police. Okay, so these are all part of operations and management. Then uh, you when once the system is in operation, once you have the transportation mode is in operation, you try to collect data from it so that you can add to your experience. So we have Ministry of Works, Ministry of Transportation, traffic department. They collect data about accidents, data about number of vehicles. Okay, similarly the data is also collected on airports and ports. Okay, how many ships are coming, how much cargo is coming, how many people are coming. Okay, so you get experience in the form of data from the field. You analyze this data on the basis of from different projects, and then you see what you may need in future, what type of project you may need in future. Okay, and then on the basis of data, you also look at, you do some research on your own. Okay, how can we improve? So on the basis of experience, we do some research to improve. Okay, and it may include technology development and technology transfer as well. You see something has new has come in the market, you try to acquire it so that you can apply it, and have a better facility in future. So after you do your research and development, you can go back to the planning stage and complete the whole process. Okay, so this is the whole process involved in transportation infrastructure services. Now within transportation infrastructure services, as I told you, you can have different specializations. So you have seen the process. From that process, we have extracted different components in which you can specialize. So you can specialize in transportation planning. Okay, this is basically my field in which I did my PhD. So this is about selection of projects and doing their economic analysis and looking at different projects and looking at their feasibility. Okay, we'll talk about it in more details later on. So you gather the data, you look at the transportation data, traffic data, and you try to forecast what will happen in the future and what type of projects we should evaluate and so on. Then we have infrastructure design, like I told you, design of pavement, geometric design of highways, the design of buildings, the structural design of buildings, okay, design of the drainage systems. Okay, so this is all included in infrastructure design, and you try to prepare different maps and plans and drawings of your design, and the calculation of cost of your design is also part of this process or this specialization. Then we have the construction phase. So it includes like I showed you in the previous slide, preparing the surface, grading, paving the surface, okay, preparing the final road, preparing the structures. Okay, so all this is part of highway construction. We have construction engineers to do that, or nowadays they are also called as construction managers as well. Then we have the operations and management of traffic. So we have a traffic engineer who should be taking care of all this. So it will include the integration of vehicles and drivers and pedestrians. You have to study the characteristics of these different users of the highways, vehicles, drivers, and pedestrians, and you have to look at their safety. You have to look at how we can serve maximum number of vehicles and pedestrians and drivers on our highways. So this is part of transportation operation and management. And then we have the maintenance of the transportation systems, maintenance of the buildings, maintenance of the roads and bridges. Okay, so the objective is that all these things should be in working order. Okay, they should be in working order. Okay, they should be usable. If you have like if there are cracks on the bridges, then it is unsafe, it is unusable, nobody will allow to use that. Okay, if there is water on the highway, then again it's unusable. Okay, you will not want to use this. Okay, so you have to maintain the surfaces, you have to do some patching, repair work, and so on. So basically it deals with the repair work so that you can keep the serviceability of your structures and serviceability of your transportation systems, meaning the usability. Okay, during your career as a transportation engineer, you have to deal with different challenges. The first challenge is everybody is expecting the transportation systems to be efficient, effective, and long-lasting and safe. When you are on the road, you have the expectation that this particular road will be safe for my travel. Okay, and it will be long-lasting. If it is built now, you are not expecting anything to happen to it for the next 20-30 years. Okay, and it should be effective and efficient in providing the service to the users. Okay, a good transportation service to the users. Okay, so it may mean that it should reduce your travel time, it should be easier to come on to, it should be easier to drive your vehicle, and so on. You have to possess a long-term vision of the future, okay, because you are not designing anything for now, you are designing something for the future. For example, you may be designing a highway that may go to, or that may be required up to full capacity in the next 10 years. Okay, similarly you may be designing a new vehicle, okay, that may be fully operational after 20 years. Okay, like we have electrical vehicles, so you may be having, vehicles which can fly, okay, but they may not be operational right now. Okay, so you need to think about future, what I'm doing, how can it benefit humankind in future. Then you have to look for new innovations, new technology, do your research, okay, think for different ways, new and different ways to transport people and goods, okay, because everything has its own capacity. Okay, there are so many cars you can have on the roads. After that you have to think of something new. Okay, there's so much space on which you can build the road, then you have to think about something new. That's how the bridges were constructed, that's how the electric trains were, you know electric trains were built. These were all the things which were done to, you know uh, to 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 innovate different ways of transporting people and goods. Then you may have different technological solutions which are for the same problem. So you must be well versed with the technology so that you can see which solution is the best one for our case. Okay, so you cannot just look for one solution and forget about what else is in the market. Okay, for example, the sensors which we use in signals, they were basically used in ACs and different electric devices. Okay, so people thought that, okay, why are we not using these sensors on our roads as well. Okay, so that you can have different timings for different sides of the road, okay, different directions of the road, and these timings would change according to what is happening with the traffic. Okay, so you have to think about different things. Okay, sometimes it can go in reverse as well. Sometimes there is a new technology in the market, but it is not suitable for your location. Okay, for example, people talk about, electric trains for Bahrain. Now electric trains which are going at a speed of 200 kilometers per hour, you build one railway track with electric trains in Bahrain. It will take you in 1 minute from one corner of Bahrain to other corner of Bahrain. Where will you stop? So what is the use of this? Okay, you cannot, you cannot, uh, these trains are good for countries which are bigger and wider. Okay, so even if they are going at 300 kilometers per hour, still you can have, you can go from one city to another city in 10 minutes or 15 minutes. But in Bahrain, 10-15 minutes, this train will take you out of Bahrain. Okay, so you have to look for which technological solution is best for your situation. You have to be a good steward of the investment. Okay, a transportation system is an investment. Okay, and this investment is coming from people's money. It's not somebody who is paying from his own pocket. It is everybody's money, so you are more accountable. Okay, so you have to be a good steward. A good steward means someone who takes care of something, like a shepherd or something. So you have to be a good steward. You have to take care of the investment which is coming in your hand through the government. The government doesn't own this money. This money belongs to people. So there's more accountability for you. So you have to think about, you have to design something which will save the cost in the long run. Okay, saving the cost in terms of saving time for the people, saving the cost in terms of like giving economical transportation system to the user, to the road user. Okay, maybe a vehicle which can, you know save fuel. Okay, or a road network or a bridge which can allow the people to go from one place to the other place and saves 15 minutes of their travel time. Okay, or using a material which requires less maintenance. Okay, so you have to look at the operational and maintenance cost, the long-term cost. Okay, not only think about cheap construction work. Okay, other challenges are transportation systems are open, everybody can see it, and they are dynamic. They keep on changing with respect to weather and with respect to population and so on. Okay, you have traffic pattern changes because of industry, because of more population, because of technology. Okay, so there are so many people who are involved within the transportation projects and network. Okay, and these people are, some of them are at local level, some of them are at state level, some of them are at national level, and there are some which are at international level as well. For example, now we have this corona covid situation. Okay, so there are people who you are dealing with at the international level as well, WHO and people from other airlines and people who are coming from different countries, you know so you have to deal with all of them. Okay, and then you have to deal with the public as well. Okay, obviously public is using your network, so you have to deal with all these people. So you don't have to be only a good engineer, you have to be good with your communication as well. And how do you communicate with them? You communicate with your design, you communicate with your construction work, you communicate with these people through newspaper articles. Sometimes you have to give them seminars, you may have to give them awareness campaigns and so on. So a transportation engineer may be required to do all these things. Okay, you see, even in Bahrain, they have traffic weeks, usually in March or April. Okay, so you have to design these awareness campaigns. Okay, as a transportation engineer, is part of your job. Okay, you have to be good listeners to people, people who may be suffering, somebody has lost his loved one in an accident. Okay, so all these people may come to you as a transportation engineer or someone in the ministry. Okay, and these people may be hostile, they may not support your ideas, they may not be willing to listen to you. You have to listen to them. Okay, and you have to understand them. Within those people there may be some people who don't like the effects of the project in their area. Why there's so much construction in our area? I'm suffering when I'm going to the office. All these factors are realistic. Okay, you have to listen to them. Okay, you cannot ignore them. They are hostile because they are suffering because due to your project or something. So you have to listen to them, you have to convince them. Okay, and you have to be fair with them. Okay, then you have to deal ethically and fairly with all the parties of your project. And these parties can be, you know contractors, design consultants, and your fellow employees, people in the ministry, general public. So you have to be fair with all of them, ethical with all of them. You cannot hide things from them. Okay, so ethical, as given in your book, ethical means that you have to be honest and trustworthy. Okay, you have to be fair and loyal with your work. Okay, whatever you are doing, you have to do it wholeheartedly. This is what I can say. You have to do it wholeheartedly. Then when another challenge for you is you have to disclose all the analysis which you have done. First of all, the analysis of the cost and benefits of your project. The cost and benefits, which I already mentioned in the previous slide, you have to analyze them objectively. Okay, like with numbers. Okay, you cannot do it qualitatively or on subjective basis. Subjective means based upon your own judgment. You cannot use your judgment to say this thing is more beneficial than this thing. Okay, you cannot say, okay, a bridge is more beneficial than a tunnel because I think so, or because it is my experience. No, you have to give them some numbers, you have to calculate the cost and benefits. Okay, so you have to be objective and you have to disclose these things and you have to disclose the assumptions which you have taken as well. So while you are, for example, you are calculating the cost of accident, you must have made some assumption that a car costs this much, okay, or a human being or a average employee in Bahrain is taking this much salary. So these are your assumptions when you are calculating the cost. So you have to disclose them. You have to be open with all these things. Sometimes these assumptions, or these analysis may include competing interests, or as mentioned in your book, thorny issues. You thorn is, uh, you when you with the flower you have the thorns, okay, so which pricks you when you are touching the flower or so on. Okay, so these are thorny issues, or what I call as competing interests, something which can benefit one party but it may be of disbenefit to some other party. For example, you are building a new street railway, or a new bus network in which you will allocate one lane for buses. So the people who are using buses are benefiting from that, but it will be a thorn to the people who are using cars because you are taking away one lane from them. Okay, so these are the thorny issues, and so you when you are calculating cost and benefits, you have to deal with these issues as well. Okay, so when you are calculating benefits, maybe your one aspect of the project is a benefit to one party, and it is the same aspect which is a cost to another party. So you have to keep both aspects in your mind. Okay, benefits as well as disbenefits, which may be because of the same thing, okay, but to different people.